What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Goat Shed Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Nick Connected. Alongside me is the interesting Jacob Bulls. Jacob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Nick. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just great. Sports are back, baby.
It is finally time, our first episode, I believe, where we're talking about live sports that have
Yeah.
actually happened during this whole, pandemic and everything. But I'm beyond excited, and I know you are too. So I
Oh,
think it's just time to kind of dive on in. Actually, before we start, is there any really news around the sports world besides basketball? Because this is going to be a basketball podcast. For
baseball's falling apart. Arsenal's
baseball
better than
falling apart,
Chelsea.
Marlins have 17 players as of like now that have tested positive.
That's
I think a
crazy.
couple other teams might have had a player or two.
I think like the
So whatever they're doing just obviously doesn't seem to be working. It's a mess. I wouldn't even
hockey
doubt
worked
it.
yesterday.
Oh yeah, hockey's back. The Penguins lost last night, so that was a little rough time for me.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's okay, it happens. Pirates aren't doing too hot either. Pittsburgh sports not doing too hot in this break. And I guess soccer news: Arsenal
Who's the best?
beat Chelsea in the FA Cup to secure a Europa League spot. So congrats to Arsenal.
That's what we do.
Props to them.
That's what we do, sir.
But other than that,
David
I
Luiz
think
is the best player in the world. Just,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
but-
no, I meant that when I said that, by the way.
I know you did. That's
Speaking of the best player in the world, I guess that's LeBron James, but we're not going to get into that yet because we have one game before that. Oops. Getting in. So I guess NBA is back. We saw a great 2 games Thursday night where we saw 2 games that could have went either way. Because when you look at the Pelicans game, the Pelicans lost by 2 with Brandon Ingram attempting a game-winning shot. So I think with that being said, you want to dig into that game, the first game of the NBA coming back.
Cool. Man, yes, the Jazz and the Pelicans. The first game of the restart, where it was a very, very the Pelicans were pretty dominant for the entire beginning of that game. I think they might have been up by as much as like 13 to 15 points, something like that at one point. And
they had a nice
the
lead.
Jazz just fought back. They had a great effort by Jordan Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson has always just been a bucket, though. Like, he's just like, I don't know. He's like one of those perfect bench players. Because I feel like even in Cleveland, even in LA, although his playmaking and defense sometimes lack, that guy is a straight bucket.
Yes, I mean he went 1 for 8 from 3, but he ended up the game 8 and 17. So he really didn't miss like
Clutch.
I guess
Clutch time
smarter
minutes.
shots, like mid range, what he's known for. I mean, like the three he's got to work on, he's got to hit those, but for him to still do that well, and it was a good effort by him. I mean, him, Mike Conley, and Donovan Mitchell each had 20 plus points, so their guards are kind of showing out. That's kind of like the, I guess, heart and soul of the Utah Jazz. Besides like the bigs getting rebounds and playing defense, I mean that's kind of like what they've been doing recently. But I mean, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, 7 people scored on their team, and that was it. And they're still able to win that game. That's very impressive.
That's crazy. Yeah, 7 people. They're running a tight rotation.
Yeah, I guess they had 10 people play, but only 7 score.
And what wasn't it like 6 of them were in double digits, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone but Tony Bradley had double digits.
Royce O'Neal with 12, Joe Ingles with 13, Rudy with 14, Donovan with 20, Mike with 20, and Jordan Clarkson with 23.
But yeah, so good game by the Utah Jazz. I mean, they definitely deserve to win that game. How they kind of play, they played all 4 quarters, and the Pelicans just didn't do that. So
yeah, I mean, it might have been a different game as Zion is not on this minute restriction. But
yes, that's another thing we got to talk about. So I guess we'll just move on to the Pelican side of things.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, Zion only played 15 minutes this game. I don't think they announced that he was going to be on a minutes restriction before this game.
I didn't remember saying anything about it. I guess mainly because no one knew if he was going to play because of him having to leave the bubble and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he was just cleared, I think, the Monday beforehand. So I don't know if he had time to go out there and practice. I don't know if that was kind of like they're just trying to take it easy. but he still in the 15 minutes he still performed like Zion does. I mean, he scored 13 points. He was 6 for 8. Just I mean, doing Zion things, being big, being aggressive, being athletic,
Yeah. I mean,
and the rest of their team just I mean, 3 players again who scored 20 plus points in that team. You got Ingram with 23, Drew Holiday with 20, JJ with 21.
JJ's a bucket.
JJ is. Did
Oh,
you see what he did against the Bucks in the scrimmage game? I think he
yeah.
scored something like 23 points in 8 minutes,
That's crazy.
which I mean,
Yeah, that's
like if you
crazy.
look at yeah, it's kind of like what Klay Thompson did, where he scored 37 in a quarter. Just
Buckets, bro. They're straight buckets.
crazy. These guys shooting, they don't miss anymore.
They don't. And man, I mean, that was a good game. Bi could have ended it, but I mean, that next game, that late night Thursday game, the Battle of L.A. Jacob.
That was what
It's
everyone I think.
It's what everybody wanted. That game. It ended with LeBron gaming it and Kawhi and Paul George having a chance to game it, but LeBron locking them down. It's like it could have went either way, and it was like, dude, this is what we want to see in the Western Conference Finals.
Oh, I wanted to see it come down to the wire, one last shot to try to win or make or break the game, and
And the
we
greatest
got
player of all
we
time broke the
we
game.
we for sure got a thriller in that game.
Oh, it was such a good game.
So I mean, I guess we can start with like the Clippers side of things. Kawhi and Paul George both balled out that game. I mean, they played really well. Kawhi
Yeah.
with 28 points, Paul George with 30. So I mean, they're the main 2 people on that team for a
Kawhi
reason.
also had 2 steals, 2 blocks. I mean, he's ever on the defensive end as he always is.
Mhm. Did everything that they needed him to do, and even Paul George had 3 steals. So
Yeah.
very
Kawhi-
good efforts by him as well.
And then Kawhi was a plus 16 when on the floor, so
Yeah,
he was nice. Indeed.
yeah, and just like if you look at the rest of their team, they just did not have the help. I mean, you can obviously tell they were missing Lou Will and they were missing Montrezl Harrell.
Lou
And
Will and Montrezl are the spark plugs for that team.
I mean, like I think we talked about it. Montrez is like we talked about this in the previous episode. How he's like one of the definitely the best players on that team, like the most impactful players on that.
Yeah, I was talking with my uncle who he is not like he's into basketball, a big LeBron fan, but I was talking about the Clippers. I was like, yeah, they're missing 2 of their best 4 players. I was like, they're probably missing their 3rd and 4th best player. He's like, oh, they're missing 2 starters. I was like, no, they're 6 man. They're 6th and 7th man. He was like, wait, you said they're 2 best players. I was like, well, Paul George and Kawhi are their best, but then Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell are their 3rd and 4th. They just come off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, like in the starting lineup, you don't really. It's kind of weird because like Patrick Beverly just is not really a starting point guard, and I mean Reggie Jackson ended up starting this game. He didn't do too hot. He was just kind of there. He scored 10 points, 3 for 10. I mean,
He didn't have a bad. I mean, he was plus 9.
Huh. it's not a
He
bad
had,
game.
he
I
had
mean,
10.
like when I watched that game, he definitely facilitated well. He was able to attack,
10, 4, and
kick
6
out.
ain't bad for a point guard that is.
I mean, yeah,
Reggie
he doesn't
Jackson.
need to score like how like on that team. I mean, that's what Kawhi and Paul George are there for, obviously.
Yeah.
Marcus Morris with a fat 0 points that game in 18 minutes.
Yikes. I mean, he's still a plus 10. He wasn't hurting the team out there. I don't think
No.
he shot that much.
Shot 4 times.
Yeah, he didn't hurt him that much. He was there defensively. He's grabbing boards, but wasn't enough, obviously.
Yeah, so
I think it's going to be a different team once Lou Will and Montrezl are back. I mean, I said this in many podcasts before. I think the Clippers are winning it all. So I think once they get Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell back, it's going to be a little harder for the Lakers to walk away with a win there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you get 7 games in a playoff atmosphere, when you know this is your season on the line right here, it's going to be all out. It's going to be a battle, and it's probably going to be the best series we're going to see this playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. And I guess it's time to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers in their first game then.
Anthony Davis is the only thing we need to say.
Anthony, just 34 points, 8 for 19, but just did everything they needed him to do. I mean, he had 17 17 free throw attempts. It just shows how he's getting to the paint. He's getting close, and they just need to foul him to stop him. He's just that
You wanna
dominant.
you wanna you wanna hear a crazy stat line?
Oh yeah,
The
him.
highest plus minus for both teams was Dion Waiters.
Huh.
Dion was
I
a
do-
plus 17 with 11 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds.
Dion actually, like, I mean, he definitely controls that second unit, and
Oh,
he
Dion's a
plays.
buck. I mean, like, because as everyone knows, I'm a Heat fan, so the only discrepancy I have against Dion was all the drama that we went through this season with him. But I mean, drama besides and his ego beside, he's a bucket.
The only shots that he missed that game were threes. So everything else, like mid-range layups, he made everything there. So
Yeah, I mean,
very, very dominant by him.
Kuzma had a good game. I mean,
Kuzma had a really good game
who's been
too. I mean,
inconsistent over this NBA season before the pandemic shut everything down. It was him coming out in a big game and I mean hooping 16 points and 7 boards. It's all you can ask out of a
he
backup
went
power
4 for
forward.
7 from 3. He hit those clutch shots where they needed him most. He's definitely expanded that game very well. I mean, he's kind of got bullied and slandered on Twitter for the longest time, but then now he's kind of showing that he's definitely been the player. He's the player now that people thought he could be.
KCP had a couple threes. Love to see that.
KCP. No, he had no threes.
No threes? He had 6 points, no threes? I didn't look.
He went 2 for 8. Yeah, he had.
Oh, what a bum.
Two.
Never mind.
Yeah,
KCP still
he went
bum.
0 for 3. I'm sorry.
KCP still a bum. Kuzma was 57% from 3.
Yeah, I know. He went 4 for 7. That's nice.
That's a bucket. I guess the one thing we haven't talked about, LeBron James. I mean, he didn't have like those LeBron numbers per se, but I mean, 16, 7, and 11, the game-winning shot and the game-winning defensive possession. What else can you ask out of the greatest player of all time?
I mean, yeah, he didn't show up. I mean, he didn't like really do what LeBron does most of the game, but like you said, when it came down to it, he did what he needed to do. He drove in. I mean, he got that rebound. He got the offensive rebound on his floater in front of 5 Clippers, and then put it back up. So very good effort by him. And then people have slandered his defense for all season, last season, and it was nice to see him actually kind of clutch it out at the end.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It was a very entertaining first night of basketball. And then that second night, I mean, it was followed by a lot more defenseless, entertaining basketball. I'm just gonna read you the score lines for the next day of basketball. 28 to 8, 128 to 118, 135 to 140, 125 to 112, 112 to 119, 120 to 129, and 153 to 149.
Yeah, that last game we'll talk about, but it felt like an all-star game.
So
like defense there.
Yeah, we got a lot of games to get through, so we should probably like ramp through them here because with these games there's just a lot.
Some of these teams aren't really going to be playoff teams, so it's not like we really need to.
We can kind of get through. I mean, Orlando and Brooklyn. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I did not see a minute, see a highlight, see a stat line of this game.
I mean, they're both going to be either the 7th or the 8th seed in the East, so I think that's a lock for them at this point.
But that next game, the 8th seed fighters in the West, Memphis versus Portland, that was a game. Did you watch any of that?
I did watch.
I want Melo in the clutch. Oh, he's back, baby.
Melo definitely showed his haters that he should have been picked up by a team a while ago.
I mean, just this team is healthy now. Zach Collins is back. Nurkic is back. I mean, this Trailblazers team is so scary. They have their bigs for the first time all season. Because think about it. This whole season, they did not have their starting power forward or their starting center, and they had to bring in Hassan Whiteside, who wasn't like with the team. They had to bring in Whiteside and Melo. So those 2 players that weren't with the team at the start of the season that have to go through this chemistry building process, and now Nurk is back, Collins is back, Whiteside can move to a more bench role where he can impact that second unit, and then you just gotta let Melo, CJ, and Dame get buckets.
I mean, both Zach Collins and Nurkic both fouled out, but
yeah, I saw that.
But they had a very big impact in the game. I mean,
especially Nurk.
Nurkic had 6 blocks
and 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. I mean, he was everywhere.
He was everywhere. He did
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he missed the game a lot because he really played himself very well. And Zach Collins, I mean, he had 7 points. He had 9 rebounds.
That's all you need. When you got 3 players, even 4 if you want to count Nurkic, that are just absolute buckets. But when you have Dame, CJ, and Melo, you don't need that power forward to be a bucket getter. You need him to be a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Like we said, I mean, when your
He
bigs
was
combined
he was
for
a plus
18
plus
rebounds
11. He was a plus
and
11.
Carmelo, oh yeah, plus 11. Like
Yeah, he
that's
had a good game.
just showing what kind of impact he had on the floor. But the leading scorers were C.J. McCollum with 33.
And Jaren Jackson with 33. CJ with 30. Oh, no, they both had 33. Oh, wow. CJ and
they both
Jaren
had
both had
33.
33. Dang. I thought CJ
Yeah,
shot 30.
No,
Jaren was a
but
bucket.
Jaren
40% from
Jackson
3.
Jr.
He was a bucket. 6
That
for
was
15. A lot of threes.
That's a very impressive game, actually. Yeah, he 40%
Jaw,
from
Jaw
three
was
for him.
pretty slow, but he turned it around the second half. Jaw started the game pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that he finished 7 for 22, 31%. But I mean, that's some rust. He's gonna be fine out there. I mean, he played a
Yeah,
long game. He hasn't played in a while. He still had a plus minus of 4, so he
yeah. No,
had
by
a
the end of
positive
it, he
impact.
turned it around and had a positive impact. It was a close game. I mean, it went to OT. It could have been anyone's game. That really sucks for the Grizzlies, who were trying to not let a team force that
Yeah,
Mega Bowl game right now. But I mean, dude, I think the Trailblazers are gonna get it, man.
I think they're definitely gonna be within 4 of this
Eh,
Grizzlies team, and I don't see another team catching
After
them.
the we'll get into this when we talk about yesterday's slate of games, because breaking the fourth wall. But I guess we're live streaming for anyone that's in here. Me and Jacob normally record late at night. We were recording at 10 a.m. right now. This is unprecedented times.
Unheard of things over here at the Go Shed Sports Podcast.
I
But
think I've said this a couple times whenever we have done podcast when it is light outside, but it is, I mean, I guess it's gloomy and it's about the storm, so it's not really light, but it feels weird when there's a sun. I'm so used to just recording this thing at midnight.
we
Oh,
do this at like midnight, 1 in the morning, and just.
vibe.
But hey, whatever works for us.
And that
We wanted to make sure we got all of this done. Yeah.
the next game was the Suns versus the Wizards. We don't need to talk too much about it. I mean, Devin Booker and Roy Hachimura were the leading scorers and got buckets. DeAndre Ayton had a pretty solid game. So it's good to
24 and
see.
12 rebounds.
Yeah, that's good to see. I mean, DeAndre Ayton, if he can really be what everyone thought he was going to be when he went first overall in that 2017-18 draft, whenever it was, then, I mean, him and Devin Booker could be a problem down there in Phoenix. They almost made the playoffs this year. So, I mean,
But
if
you gotta
he
think
can...
Devin Booker kind of needs a change of scenery.
And DeAndre Ayton also did miss, 25 games with that, whatever drug he took. Same thing like John
Mm-hmm.
Collins did. So, I mean, I could see this team making the playoffs next year.
Yeah, so I thought you were gonna say this year. I was like,
No. No. And then, the Wizards, who literally, the only notable player that they have on their team right now is Roy Hachimura, because,
the rookie.
John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Sabonis are not playing. Roy's getting buckets. He's a rookie. We love to see that. He's a stud.
I mean, props to the Wizards for still being in the bubble and trying, but they're just here to play some basketball, I guess. I guess it's time it's just here for the younger players to kind of show off for
Yeah.
next year and try to get a bit bigger role in that team.
And then the next game that we had on the schedule was a
It
battle
was
of
a
the
big game.
Eastern Conference powerhouses, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics. I want to start this off with saying Jason Tatum said a couple weeks ago, he said in an interview or something, I'm going to be honest, I haven't touched a basketball since the shutdown started. And oh my God, it showed. 5 points.
Yeah.
5 points? He was 2 for 18, my guy. 11% from the field. A negative 13. And the fact that the Celtics were still in this game is, terrifying. Jason
It
Tatum,
came down to the wire, and I guess
Jason
there was
Tatum
kind of
had-
some ref drama at the end of this game we can kind of talk about.
Yeah, but it just one thing I'm this is what's so scary about this team. Jason Tatum had 5, but there was still a close game because Gordon Hayward had 17, Daniel Theus had 13, Jalen Brown had Dice. Yeah, you're right. Jalen Brown had 22, Kemba Walker had 16, Marcus Smart had 23, Brad Wanamaker had 14.
Yeah, I mean they have 6 players who are in double digits. Most of them.
I love Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart is such a smart player,
Dude,
and
I think I've
and
said this
like,
on our podcast. He is the Tony Allen of our generation.
and like the fact that he's been known for being that defensive stud, like that's always been known for. But then for him to come out and score 23 points, like it shows
When the team
how
was
much he's
struggling,
really expanded his game. And
50% from three as well. He was 3 for 6. I mean, he's normally been regarded as a poor 3-point shooter his whole career. He's coming out hitting shots. I think earlier this season he had like what 12 threes in the game.
he might have. I mean,
It was
just
like 12, 11, or 10. It was double digits that Marcus Smart hit. And it was just really random.
But I mean, good for him. I mean, he definitely needs to prove to people that he's not just out there to play defense. He's a two-way player now, and he's one of the Celtics' definitely most.
I think he's the most
Important players
impactful.
on the
I think he's
team.
the most impactful player.
Yeah,
I think
he's definitely one of the most important players on that team.
I think
100%.
it's the same way we'd always back in the Cavs versus Warriors days. Everyone would say, I mean, Draymond's not the best on the team, but he's the most impactful. He's like the X factor.
Yeah, when you have a defensive player of the
Spark
year,
plug,
a first team all defensive player on your team, it goes a long way, and it showed this game.
Marcus should, I think he will be that. Him and Ben Simmons will be that second team guards for the defensive second, like all NBA second team for defensive teams. I think it'll be those two. He's a stud, and I mean when we go over to the Bucks side of things, I mean it's just Giannis, man. 36 points, 15 boards, 7 assists, a block, and a steal. He was 70% from the floor. He hit a 3. He hit 1 for 3. He attempted 3. He hit 1. I mean, it's just the MVP doing MVP things.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I guess the drama at the end of the game was they changed a charge on him that would have gave him his 6th foul to a block and then Marcus Smart criticized this on social media after the game and was fined $15,000, I believe, for. Yeah, a little hefty little fine right there, but hey, it's a non-playoff game. The Celtics are still gonna be probably a lock for the 3 seed, maybe.
Whoa! Miami's a game behind them, dog.
Game and a half,
and we play them on Tuesday.
So yeah, I mean that's gonna be a big swing right there.
And Miami plays the Raptors tomorrow, and then they play the Celtics Tuesday. Monday Raptors, Celtics Tuesday. Jesus. Jesus.
There's some good games coming up.
Oh man, they have statistically the hardest schedule in the bubble. I mean, they just played the Nuggets yesterday, bro. Like, give us a freaking break. They played the 3rd seed in the West, and then go play the 2nd seed in the East to play the 3rd seed in the East. What the hell?
They've got a tough schedule.
So tough.
Yeah, but
hey,
if you look at the rest of the Bucks, 3 other players had double digits. Chris Middleton had 18, Brook Lopez had 14, and DiVincenzo had 10. They're role players just doing what they're asked of. I mean, just enough to put them over the edge. Brook Lopez had.
Brook is clamps.
Brook Lopez is a 6 blocks on that man.
Look, Brook Lopez is going to be the starting center for the second team for defense.
Even Robin Lopez had a really good game.
Robin's always been a great bench player. I mean, even when he was in Chicago, losing all the time, Robin Lopez is always a solid bench player.
So Milwaukee looked fantastic. Boston still looked good even without their best player.
And if Tatum shows up, God, they're terrifying.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, they're a 3 seed for a reason, and it's gonna be whatever team gets them in the first round is gonna be. Gonna be sorry, for both those teams, really.
And then we got in our next game. I guess we can just go through it real quick. It was the Kings versus the Spurs, 2 teams that me and Jacob both agree will not be forcing a play-in tournament game. But De'Aaron Fox, 39 points and 6 assists. You love to see that. DeMar DeRozan was balling out, but I mean, at the end of the day, the Kings I don't see them making it, and the Spurs don't have LaMarcus Aldridge, so any Greg Popovich-style comeback, I don't see happening without LaMarcus Aldridge.
I mean, as of right now, the Spurs are only a half game behind the Trailblazers, and the Kings are 1 game behind the Trailblazers, so...
They could do it. It's
possible.
It's just tough schedule ahead.
It's gonna be harder for them than it is for the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers kind of have to just throw at this point to not get in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, De'Aaron Fox, oh my gosh, he had 39 points.
Yeah. De'Aaron's been a bucket though. I mean, he's just that athletic freak.
He was 17 for 33. That's wow.
Some Westbrook type shit right there, baby.
Yeah.
He's getting his shots up. He's having fun. He's here in this Orlando bubble.
Bogdan had a really good game too. 24
Bogdan's
points.
A bucket, bro. Bogdan's
8 for 15.
So good. Buddy Hield struggled.
Buddy Hield didn't really have himself a game. Yeah, 2 for 13, 6 points, but
over on the Spurs side of things, Lonnie Walker balled out, DeMar balled out, Derek White balled out. Derek White had 26, Rudy Gay had 19. Derek White's a bucket though. He's such a good player. I mean, the Spurs always find those guys. The Spurs always find those guys you've never heard of and just make them buckets. Like, dude, think about it. Dude, he turned Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili into two of the greatest.
into arguably one, like
Manu, the best bench player of all time, and Tony, one of the. I mean, he's up there. He just takes it. Besides Tim Duncan, like Kawhi was a late. Everyone he turns are just like people you've never heard of. Like no one knew who Kawhi Leonard was. He went to
crazy.
San Diego.
I mean, it's just their system over there is unlike any other. Pop does such a good job with his teams, and it shows when they haven't missed the playoffs in how many years? Like
22.
This entire decade they haven't missed.
Since 99.
Since the
year
we were.
Since the year I was born, they've been in the playoffs. Yeah. Like I mean, it's gonna be sad if they don't make it this year, but hey, everything's gotta end, right?
I could see if they didn't, but this next game.
Oh my! It was I think it's very fitting because these are the two Texas teams, 2 of the 3. But it was a old Western shootout. No, it was just straight shooting, no defense, none at all.
I mean, yeah, this game went to overtime, but to score 153 points to even have that extra 4 minutes to score that much, that's
Mavericks.
That's crazy.
The Mavericks had 85 at halftime.
James Harden almost had the first 50-point game. Someone else did. We'll talk about that.
That makes me so upset knowing who the player is and the drama that he was in earlier in the season. Oh my gosh! But I mean, you just look at the Rockets' small ball. Daniel House at 20, Robert Covington at 13, Harden 49, Westbrook 31, Jeff Green with 10, Ben Malcolmore with 13, and Austin Rivers with 10. Did I name a single center? No, I did not.
Nope.
Robert Covington is still their starting center, technically. I mean, they got Tyson Chandler just sitting there on the back burners if they do need him. But the fact that they were able to win this game with no center and Kristaps Porzingis was on the other team, I understand Kristaps balled out, and it probably is because he's 7'3", and Robert Covington and PJ Tucker were the ones guarding him. But the fact that they were still able to win it,
what a game. I mean, yeah, like we could talk about some of the stat lines on the Mavericks, but they had 4 players who scored 24 points and plus.
Yeah, Tim Hardaway with 24, Kristaps with 39, Luka with 28, and Trey Burke with what? All right, why are the
8 for 10 from?
Dude? It's the Michigan boys, bro. Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway back together since in 2014 or whatever they were in Michigan together, fighting in the top 4 in the Final Four. Now they're back on each other's team, and they were tormenting Ohio State. And now they're tormenting the league. 24 points and 31 points.
They didn't even have Seth Curry perform. Seth Curry was 0 for 4 with 3 points.
8 for 10. Trey Burke is never going to play that good again. What the hell?
He stole Seth Curry's power this game.
He did. And dude, I think my favorite moment from the whole game was when Luka did that step back and he airballed the 3 and Boban just caught it because he had Robert Covington or Daniel House or someone on him, and he literally the ball just landed in his hands like it was an alley-oop.
He didn't even jump. He literally just raised his arms up, caught the ball, and then just put it in.
It was so goofy, bro. It was so funny.
But hey, I guess it's working for Houston. I mean, they were able to beat a very good Mavericks team.
Historically, one of the best offenses in NBA history, actually.
Yeah, I think they had
their offensive efficiency is one of the best in the history of the league. And the Rockets said, "All right, screw playing defense. We're just gonna outscore the best offense in the league."
I mean, when you have one of the best scorers of all time in James Harden, you can't afford to do those things.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I think by the end of his career, he's gonna go down as him or
I
Kevin
think he
Durant
will be.
are
I
gonna
think
go
him or Kevin Durant, just because of how unguardable they are, will go down as
the best
definitely
scorers.
maybe top 2, top 3.
Yeah, I would say top two. It's just gonna be hard to knock off Kobe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Kobe, I mean, 81. How
I mean,
how many
yeah.
times over Kobe's career? Because that man scored 100 points in a game, but he didn't play the fourth quarter.
There's quite a few.
I mean, going in then, I guess that next day, that Saturday, the day I've been waiting for, Jacob, the Miami Heat with their season opener, not season, restart, NBA restart opener against the Denver Nuggets, and it was not a entertaining game to watch after we got to the second half. Um, going into the halftime, it was, I believe it was. Let me do my math here. Hold on. It was 56 to 57, Denver. 1 point game at halftime, and then coming into the third quarter, Miami scores 38 and Denver scores 22, and it was just over.
Wow.
I mean, granted, Denver did not have Jamal Murray, Will Barton, or Gary Harris play this game. But still, I mean, just Miami was so dominant. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in double digits. 3 players with 20 or above, with Jimmy having 22, Bam having 22, and Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench, 4 for 6 from 3 with a 20 bomb. Duncan Robinson had 17. But my favorite thing about Duncan is people are starting to prepare for Duncan now. Like, no one was studying or preparing for Duncan before games, and there are so many times this game where Duncan was getting the ball on the 3-point line and a double tried to collapse on him, and he was able just to make the pass and get the open layup because teams are not letting them shoot. And that's when this guy is going to truly become an all-star caliber player, when his playmaking comes to the point where you can't double him because he's just going to find the open bucket.
Hmm. I mean,
It
he
was
was a
it was
plus 28 this game.
yeah, Duncan. Yeah, that's what I'm
Crazy.
saying. Because he wasn't just out there shooting threes. He's like, I saw this quote from a Miami Heat like sports outlet organization I follow, and they said Duncan is understanding his gravity on the floor and how he pulls players to him, and he's understanding he's not just a shooter. He's taking the ball to the floor and he's finding open looks. Duncan is in his second year. Duncan is so good, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's has one of the highest 3-point percentage of all time already.
I think he's like 4th all time this year. Excuse me, greatest shooter of all time inbound.
Hey, one day you could be.
Oh my gosh! I mean, besides that, Bam and Jimmy both had dominant games. Jimmy was just Jimmy did Jimmy things. 10 for 11 from the free throw line. He got there. He had 3 steals. And then a lot. Just the Heat, man. Their just defense is gonna be so good because on pick and rolls, Jay Crowder and Iggy got added to the team, which are both great perimeter defenders. So then if you're getting guarded by Jimmy or Bam and you call a pick to try to get one of them off you, you're either getting Jimmy or Bam back on you or you're getting Andre Iguodala on you. Like,
Yeah.
the defense is
So-
there. The Nuggets, didn't play well. I mean, not a single guy within the 20 points. Jokic had a terrible game. I mean, he had 19 points. He was a minus 10. Every single one of their starters was a minus by double digits. No,
I mean,
no one in their
we
starting
kinda-
lineup had a
yeah, it's a
positive
little bit.
impact on their
Wait,
floor.
I mean, it's-
Michael Porter Jr. was terrible. Like, he was just making rookie mistakes, and you could just see it.
Mhm. I mean, that happens. It's his first kind of quote unquote playoff experience. I mean, it's kind of getting there, but
Yeah, Miami just easily takes the 20-point win. And we can
yeah,
move
I
on
mean,
before we
nobody
take
on the
the
nobody on the Nuggets scored over 20 points, so they didn't have that kind of dominant player who could have taken over a game. But hey,
And for this next game, I fell asleep and the Thunder were winning by like 20, and I woke up. I fell asleep in like the second half, and the Thunder are up by like 20, and I woke up and they were still up by 20. So I woke up like
Yeah.
in the fourth quarter and they were still up by 20. So the Thunder just kind of dominated this whole game.
kind of just sums up this whole
Zero
game.
lead changes. The Jazz never had the lead.
Yeah, they definitely did not have as hot of a game. Well, they didn't even have a hot game the first game either against the Pelicans. it just seems like they're still having some chemistry issues.
Chris
They're still
Paul's so
having
good.
some
Chris Paul's so good.
Chris Paul. I mean,
Why is he? Why is he
I
having
can't
the best season of his career right now? Like,
credit. I've got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, the Thunder team, like we said, is exceeding all expectations given to them before the season.
the whole starting lineup was a plus. I mean, Chris Paul was a plus 27, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, he went 7 for 10. It was 7 for 11. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. For him, for 2 steals as well. He was impactful everywhere, and he got the rest of his team going. I mean, Shai was very good that game, or Shea was good that game. Steven Adams even had a 16-point game, 11 rebounds.
I was listening to a sports podcast I listened to, and the guy said, I knew the game was over when Steven Adams started scoring.
Dude, did you see that thing where Steven Adams was like on the ground and he dribbled up and was able to like get himself a layup?
Yeah.
I mean, like when Steven Adams doing those kinds of things, you just know you're not going to win that day.
He's always just been the old reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Man, but I mean, there's nothing else to say besides the Thunder just had a dominant performance. Chris Paul is showing what he's shown all season. Shea is showing why he's going to be an all-star in this league, and the Jazz, their leading scorer.
They're kind of struggling.
The leading scorer was Donovan Mitchell with 13 points.
Yeah.
And then next game of the night, which it doesn't look close because they lost. The Pelicans still lost by 23, but it looks closer than it did at some points of the game.
Oh my God.
They were down 40 at one point. Like
they were near down. I don't know if they ever got to 40, but they were near down 40.
It was like 34, I think.
It was 38 points because I know they needed like one more bucket to get to 40 difference. But...
I mean, I knew the game was over when Paul George had 9 points in the first 30 seconds.
The Clippers set a franchise record for most threes made in a game.
Bro, Pat Beverly was doing dribble pull-ups. They were confident. They didn't care. I saw Pat Beverly do like a Steph Curry-esque dribble cross-up shoot.
I mean, when you have a 30, 40-point cushion, you're able to do things like that.
Just listen to this. Kawhi Leonard plus 34. Marcus Smart plus 33. Zubac plus 33. Paul George plus 27. Pat Beverly plus 32. Reggie Jackson plus 14.
Holy cow. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like from the start they were just the better team, and the Pelicans just struggled this game. I mean, their leading scorer was Brandon Ingram with 14 points.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't win games like that. And I mean, Zion played a minute less than he did in the first game. He only had 7. He was 3 for 7. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this Pelicans team. I mean, going into the bubble and the playoffs, I mean, me and you both thought they were going to be...
Oh, because their schedule was so... I mean, besides, like, this game with the Clippers, I mean, they still have a very weak schedule, so I think anything's still possible. Like, I mean, looking at the rest of the Pelican schedule, bro, it is easy. They do
I think their next game is against the Grizzlies, so that's going to be their biggest game.
That's going to be a fun game. But, I mean, yeah, the Clippers destroyed them. There's nothing to say but embarrassment. And then, I guess, in regards to embarrassing, I think as a Sixers fan, I would feel pretty embarrassed if I let TJ Warren drop 53 on me.
TJ Warren was the first player to drop 50 points in the bubble.
20 for 29, 9 for 12 from 3. Jesus.
We're not.
Jimmy Butler would never have let that happen. You shouldn't have let Jimmy Butler go, Sixers. You're a bunch of idiots and you're a dead franchise. God.
Oh my gosh. 53 to let him go 70 to let him shoot 70% as well.
Like, I saw a lot of people like saying, TJ Warren joins names like Corey Brewer and Mo Williams for people like who the hell are they and how they dropped 50 points. Which, as much as I just like kind of dislike TJ Warren for the whole Jimmy Butler drama and the storyline, I mean, TJ Warren over the last 4 years has averaged like 20 points a game. He's a bucket. So it's not like that far-fetched that he got 53, but it's still like, bro, you let him shoot 70% from 3 when he shot 12 threes?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, TJ Warren's a bucket, but 53 points? Shooting 75 from 3, 69 overall from the floor? Like, oh my gosh. I mean, Joel Embiid balled out, but it was like...
Yeah, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris had 30 as well.
Yeah, it came down to, bro. Ben was there on the stat line, but he just didn't have a big impact, and Al Horford was terrible. Al Horford was terrible.
41 points and 21 rebounds.
Yeah, for nothing.
That's a hell of a game.
And then
But
you just
I mean, like,
look,
if you look at that stat line on a normal day, you think there's no way they lose that game. I
and then
mean,
you
that
look
was
at
too dominant. But then when you
TJ
look at the
Warren.
Indiana stat line, you see 53 points
Warren.
on 70% shooting.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Bro, I think
that's the
the
only.
big thing that hurt him, bro, Al Horford was a minus 26.
Ooh.
With he had 10 points and 6 rebounds, but I mean just like from the defensive end, he was getting blown by and destroyed all night, man. I don't know how they ever thought a backcourt with. I mean, I guess Al Horford is moved to the bench now, and Ben Simmons is that starting power forward. But I don't know how they ever envisioned Al Horford and Joel Embiid being able to coincide on the same team.
And if you put Ben Simmons in the mix, I mean, that's just.
Should have kept Jimmy, man. Can't.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the story here is the Pacers had a total of 10 turnovers versus the 76ers, who had
And
a combined 21 turnovers. So
we talked earlier on this podcast before, like how the Pacers are gonna be this easy out because Sabonis is injured, Brogdon is injured, and Victor Oladipo is not playing in this bubble. What the hell? Victor Oladipo's playing now? Like, this is so last second. Victor Oladipo, remember, he was still traveling with the team, but he was not going to play. He played 31 minutes tonight. I think he's playing. What?
yeah, so
Didn't play good, but I mean, not bad. Not bad. I'm sorry. I saw his point plus minus. And I thought that's how many points he had. So I thought he had 9 points, but he had 15. So, I mean, if Sabonis is able to, I don't know, bro. Sabonis, I don't think is coming back. Brogdon, I don't think is coming back. So I still think this team's an easy out because TJ Warren's not recreating 53, and it's just gonna be Victor Oladipo against the world.
I mean, as of right now, the Pacers have overtaken the 76ers for that 5th seed.
Ooh, that means that if Miami stays at 4, we get to play the Pacers.
So you'd stay there, or if you move up, you'd play the 76ers. So it really looks like you're playing one of those two matchups at this point.
Man, in the last game of the night, the defending NBA World Champions, the Toronto Raptors, faced off against the best team in the West, the Los Angeles Lakers.
The Lakers, and the Raptors ended up winning this game kind of handedly by 15.
Yeah, I mean, at times it was. I mean, there was 10 lead changes. I mean, it was 10-0. They started off a 10-0 run, then the Lakers came back, and it was a close game.
They were up at halftime.
Yeah,
it was
at halftime. It was like what, with probably like 9 minutes left, probably like 76 to 74, maybe.
I know it was 80-80 at one point.
Yeah, it was 80-80. It was, yeah, exactly. So I mean, it just got to the end of the game, and the Raptors kind of just pulled through. I mean, Kyle Lowry had a game, man. He was a plus 24 with 33 points and 14 rebounds and 6 assists.
And just overall, the defensive capabilities of this Raptors team,
man, I mean,
it's crazy.
Serge is getting old, but his name is Serge Ibaka. Over the last decade, he still has the most blocks over the 2000. I saw when they were doing the end of the decade, they did the decade stats, and Serge Ibaka leads the league in blocks since 2010. Serge Ibaka is a defender, Marc Gasol is a defender, Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry are both little freaking junkyard dogs. OG Anunoby's a good defender and a great scorer who had 23 tonight.
And you still have Spicy P on that team.
Pascal, their best player, who only had 15 points, but he was a plus 27 because he was doing everything out there. And then you look at their bench, and I mean, they got their undrafted rookie, Terrence Davis, who he didn't have a good game today, but he's a good player. You have Norman Powell, who's a good player. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, this team is good, man. This team could still go to the NBA Finals this year.
Yeah, they definitely showed why
they're defending champs, and they're still the second seed after losing Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi, I mean, they still have a hell of a team.
After losing Kawhi Leonard, they're still at 47 wins right now and just beat the Lakers.
I mean, they have more wins than they did last year with Kawhi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, props to the Raptors. They're proving everyone wrong, and they're one of the best teams in the league. I mean, they're still showing that.
Yep.
And, I mean, LeBron had another he had a better game than he did the first game. I'll give him that. 20 points, 7 for 15. AD kind of had a slow game. He only had 14, but he was getting double teamed for most of that time, and Danny Green could not hit a shot to save his life.
No, he could not.
He was 0 for 7. He had 0 points. In the 2 games of this series against the Raptors, Danny Green hasn't scored a point.
It's because he wants to be there still. He has
He
regrets.
misses the boys.
He misses the boys. But yeah, I mean, we just had 3 great days of basketball. I consumed so much sports. I know you did, and it felt great.
I mean, like, we hope you guys were watching as much as we were. I know if you've been watching us, you know we're kind of the big NBA guys, and
We got
it's been a great couple days.
we got
And
6 more games
today,
today. Like we start off with the Wizards and the Nets, and probably not going to watch that game. It's not on national TV, so it's like, eh. But I mean, at 3:30, the Trailblazers and the Celtics. At 8:30, Milwaukee and the Bucks and the Rockets. Man, there's 2 great games today.
even the Spurs Grizzlies is going to be a very impactful game for that West
Yeah.
side. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that because I got League Pass. So I just want to watch Jaw, man.
I like watching Jaw.
I love watching Jaw. And then like Sacramento and Orlando, I'm not gonna watch it. Dallas and Phoenix, I'm not gonna watch it. Hell no, I'm not watching no Washington Wizards Brooklyn Nets game when all their starters are at home.
But yeah, we've got another great day today. Another great full week of basketball. Really, it's gonna be.
There's Monday, Jacob. A lot of great games. You ready for this Monday? 1:30, Toronto and Miami. 4:00, Denver and OKC. 6:30, Memphis and New Orleans, and at 9:00, Lakers and Jazz. A lot of good games.
It seems
Lot
like
of good
every day
games.
we have at least 3 games that are worth watching.
I'm gonna be over this next like 3-4 months. The amount of basketball I am gonna consume is gonna be stupid.
Oh, like once playoff comes and I watch every single game.
Oh, dude. Oh man, I can't wait. I love basketball. It's back. Baby.
Yeah, we're excited, and we're definitely going to be on the podcast. We're going to be roaring to go. We're going to be on top of things, and we hope you guys are ready too. And like we said, this was our first ever time live streaming.
Oh yeah,
I guess technically we did that last time by accident.
I'm going to run you guys through what happened here. At the end of the last podcast, I go, oh my god, Jacob, I live streamed instead of recorded. I was like, don't worry, we're still good. I can pull the VOD off Twitch and everything will be okay. Nothing will be different. And then we decided, why not just stream every podcast? Because that's one more platform to push us out on.
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for you guys to come out here, join us, and give us live kind of questions and feedback. I mean, you guys can talk about this with us.
And then you got a chance to not only be in the podcast, but you got a chance to see that podcast before it even comes out on all other platforms.
You get to beat everyone else to it. I know, exciting.
But with that, it's not, for now at least, it's not going to be like a consistent, we have this is when we're recording and this is stream time, because we do have lives. This is, more of a hobby, so it's like when it comes down to it, college is starting, we'll both be in classes, I work, so it's like, we don't know when we're going to do it, but just look out for it, and if you want to be there, be there. I guess I can say pretty safely that it would normally be within 11 o'clock to 2 a.m. the day before the podcast comes out.
It'll usually be a Saturday night at some point.
Yeah.
We'll probably say that, yes, easily.
Yeah. So I think with that being said, Jacob, it was a great week of sports, and now it's trying to hit him with that great outro.
Well, thank you guys, as always, for listening. We hope you're excited for the return of basketball, and we've got plenty more weeks ahead of it. So we've got a lot of content to talk about, and with that, we'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye-bye.